Hey, hey, hey. You sucker. Let me stop. Okay. All right.
Oh my!
Brings in normally. You don't have to be.
Yeah, I was trying to pull a Kawhi Leonard. But, so the Out of the Berg podcast for this starting this week will be every 2 weeks. Our goal is to give you more concentrated work. But in the meantime, we will have more posts on IG. We'll be more interactive and just expect more every week.
Yeah, and maybe some other stuff too. We're still kind of in the works with it. We're not really sure everything we're going to do for you, whether it's going to be maybe something that we'll put on YouTube as well or other platforms, but you can definitely expect something more on IG.
Yeah. We're just trying this out as a test and we'll see how it goes. Yeah. We could always go back to the 1 week thing. Who knows?
Yeah. Let us know how y'all like it.
Yeah. Support. Comment. Welcome. It's the Out of the Berg podcast. We are back.
Hello.
What's up, everybody?
Blessed and well favored.
Yes, sir. Always.
And we are black, y'all. Blackity black.
Oh! I thought you said we are back. I was about to say. I was waiting for the "we're back, y'all" and "we're black, y'all." I was waiting for the blackity black. That's what I was waiting for. That's what I thought was happening.
Yeah.
We're black, y'all. I was okay.
Yeah. So as y'all know, Black History Month, February.
Yay! One time of the year we're celebrated, but
this month we are celebrating and honoring a couple of influential figures. In Black history, whether it's Black Africa, Afro, Latino, just Black people that have, made amends for us, that have done a lot for us. So, I think it's important that we did this because when I brought the idea, it was just like, ding,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I was so excited when you brought this to us. I was like, yes, finally we get to do something that's a little bit, giving back a little bit, even though it's indirectly.
Yeah, it's a little different for us than the usually current events that we've been doing for the past 4 or 5 months. 3.5 months. Yeah. So this is a special episode, and I think we'll start. With the entertainers. So I think Chris got a good one.
I do. I start us off here, and my first person here for entertainers was BB King. King of Blues, had a lot of influences on the world. If you listen to music in any genre today, you've probably definitely heard like something sampled from him. I'm 90% sure, because he was like, if you ever hear his like guitar riffs or anything, like you've heard a BB King riff if you've heard any song with a guitar, basically.
Honestly,
like just a lot of like of your favorite guitarists will say like they've like modeled their way of playing for their genre from BB King. Mm-hmm. But he was, of course, always like a blues guy. Yep. But it's just that was just how good he was.
Yeah,
he transcended genres and just ages between people, because even I think I forget who, I think it was Slash.
Rock and roll. Slash.
Yeah, I think it was Slash.
Slash from pretty sure it was Metallica or something.
I think so. Yeah, and he was on stage with BB King one time playing. It's just pretty impressive guy.
Yeah.
So impressive that basically his career spanned for a little over 5 decades. A little over 50 years. In fact, in 1956, he was so like in high demand that I think it was, let me look here. Yeah, 342 appearances on stage in 1 year.
1942?
Yes. Wow. Or 1956. 1956.
Still, 1956. That's saying something.
Bruh.
Especially a black man. It's a...
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, that was what... that was right around when JB was starting, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and like he basically was just phenomenal like his entire career. Even I believe he was in England when he first met her, and a few times he actually met the Queen of England, Elizabeth II.
Yeah, the one.
And she became a fan of his music. And I was talking to this about my mom with my mom. She said he even made a few like English versions where he like included the Queen in it. I looked for them, but I couldn't find any clean one clean ones where it just like clearly was his record. But there's like online records for it and everything.
Yeah,
and it's just he was just an overall impressive guy.
That's really cool. Like I heard about him growing up, but it's just one of those things you never actually look into.
Yeah, it's just like I mean, for me, like the reason I know about BB King so much already, just in general, is because like I just said, like my mom knows about him, my dad knows about him. Basically, anybody from Mississippi knows about BB King.
The South.
He's probably one of the like top like famous people out of Mississippi. Easily, I believe.
I would say this: those royalty checks, big. But BB King, man, in music, you take a lot from what he did because, for him at that time period to be the Queen of England. Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's like from Jim Crow South, man. Like he's from Mississippi, no less.
Like at that time, it was like really hard for Black folks. So for him to go to that length.
Yeah, which is also why I kind of like just gonna use that as a segue here. For he was like super big into like advocating for prisoners because like he's from that era where like you arrested for being Black. And he never got in trouble. He never had any trouble with the law or anything like that in any like big or major way or anything. But he figured like just being from the era he in, being a Black man in general in America, it could have well been him as anybody else. So he would often like play for like prisons or anything. And he was often like teased for this ideology, but it didn't bother him because he felt like he was doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. I had a quick question for you. Did he write Little Richard? I'm sorry, Lucille?
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay. That's why.
That's one of his most famous songs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I was just looking him up again because I was like, I know this dude. Why don't I know any of his music? Lucille. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I'm sure, like if you ask your grandparents, they have an encyclopedic knowledge of him.
Yeah. They love that blues and jazz kind of stuff. They're from Mississippi, and
see, there you go.
Yeah, see, particularly Vicksburg and stuff. So
yeah, okay.
I think my father had. My dad was a universal fan of music, so he did play like BB King, like jazz and blues music. One thing about his music specifically is very chill. It's very something you can just relax to.
Yeah, it's just like. To me, like when you say like soul music, like if you listen to a BB King, that is soul music. Like you can feel that all over your body right there. Him and Bill Withers, and maybe it's because like I grew up listening to like them like my whole life. Because again, like my parents were like huge. Well, especially my dad's like a huge blues fans.
Yeah.
And it's just. It's like that's almost like comfort food to me. Like I'm not gonna listen to it every day, but when I do, like I love it. I do.
You said Bill Withers. Lovely day. Lovely day. But yeah, that's a dope one you picked. Very I think the general public would know BB King.
Yeah,
I feel like they would know his influences.
Yeah. They definitely know his influences.
Yeah, most definitely.
But just to segue to my pick, I picked Little Richard.
Yes, a close combatant. Wow. Yeah, what I just said. It's just something about musicians from that era. They have a certain, magnetic pull or charisma. It helped them, just continue to climb, from Miles Davis, Little Richard, BB King, Jimmy, just everybody else in between. So I'm not gonna keep talking, but
yeah. But I picked Little Richard because I felt like when we talk about certain entertainers, he's never mentioned.
Yeah,
And he really does need to be mentioned. Like, Little Richard came in a time where, like you said, Jim Crow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
but his style and music, and especially because he's the king of rock and roll. People, he's the king of rock and roll. It's not a white person; it's a black person. Listen, he was the first person, like, especially in black music, that was like flamboyant.
Yeah,
very flamboyant. Like he brought. He brought a mixture of. He was like really one of the first entertainers that could bring black and white people. They felt comfortable with him just because he was that flamboyant. And
and I was about to say, like, just like back in the day, 'cause I watched a lot of like documentaries on this, and like even like I know maybe most people don't know this, but like Flip Wilson, he would also like do like a thing like where he would like dress in drag or more feminine. So like that way more people will like feel drawn into him because he feels less threatening because he's dressed like that.
Yeah,
that just like it even expanded into like people for like Little Richard and stuff like that too.
Yeah. So Little Richard was like doing that, and a lot of people don't know. He built like I found out yesterday that James Brown got his break because he would do Little Richard impressions. He came out. That was his act, to come out as a Little Richard impersonator. Yeah. And James Brown is the king of what's it called? Like soul music. Like, you know what I'm saying? But for him to have that role and for him to put James Brown on, that's like, you know?
That's huge, phenomenal.
Huge. Yeah. Like, and then Jimi Hendrix was in his band.
Yep.
People don't know that. So he put on a lot of people. And I think when we especially talk about music that's very flamboyant and very edgy, the first thing we look at is Prince and Rick James.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, especially Prince, because like he's like he was like such a megastar, you know.
But if we're being real, like that was Little Richard first.
Yeah, it was, and he gets overshadowed by them now.
He really gets overshadowed. Like, but if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be like, I know people don't know this rock band. Let me give me 1 second. People don't know this rock band, Living Color. People don't know them though. Have you heard that song Called a Personality?
I don't think so.
Okay. That was like a big rock song by a black rock group. But it was through Little Richard that they got that opportunity.
Yeah. Right.
He got big. So for me, like, his legacy needs to be spoken of more.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, they all copied him.
Yeah.
I heard Paul McCartney learned how to sing because of like Little Richard. So like these things people don't know. So that's why I picked Little Richard. I found that very interesting. So
yeah, I mean, rock and roll stemmed from blues music. Like, let's not forget where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, literally, like, if we being real, like, we just went from a generation to a generation. Like, Chris talked about BB King. I'm talking about Little Richard. So, you know, yeah. So that was my pick. If anybody wants to, for entertainment.
Yeah.
I guess since we're going up, in a crescendo of time periods, as far as decades, I chose somebody that was a little different, but I chose people that whose careers I found fascinating. In particular, the guy that I chose to actually learn more about was Jonathan Capehart. He's an American journalist. He's still alive. He went to preparatory school in 1967 and earned his his BA in political science. But one of the things that was really cool about him is he found work on the Today Show like really early, and he just stayed in it, and he stayed and accumulated, became a news anchor. He worked for WNYC Foundation, who supported a bunch of radio hosts. He's worked with public media, NPR, BBC World Service, even a couple of other award-winning programs. But the thing I thought was the coolest was he received the Pulitzer Prize Award in 1999. And his editorial team continued to, I wouldn't say repair, but they showed up and collaborated with Harlem's Apollo Theater. So yes, that is really cool. He's just been involved in such, dramatic shows, and it's just I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I had no idea about any of that.
Yeah, that Pulitzer Award, they don't give that to Black people.
No.
Kendrick got it, and I was like, how? I'm saying, because they don't give that to Black people, but yeah, that is definitely ill. That's like one of the people I'm not really too familiar with. So thanks for the,
Yeah, he's really well known in the LGBTQ community, just from his works and just being more outspoken and being Black and that kind of love and appeal, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That reference.
Question: was he gay? Or
yes, he is married to his longtime boyfriend from the former State Department, Nick Schmidt. They got married on January 7th of 2017.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, currently I think they're still married. But yeah, it was just interesting to learn more about that. Someone who's in the media and has just after.
I mean, like that is like pretty cool too. I mean, like to be so long in like a media presence, and then like basically a double minority, because not only are you Black, but then you're also gay as well, making you another minority.
That is a double whammy, bro.
That is kind of like, and also to be like, what's I can't say the name of the word you guys said. I'll try, but I can't. Say it again.
Pulitzer.
See, I can't. I'm not even going to attempt it. But yeah, no, definitely. Like, and just to like be in the position to not only be a double minority, but then earn that award.
Mm-hmm.
It's just everything, basically.
Yeah. I always get this one confused with the Nobel Prize because they have such similar sounding names.
Yeah. Just to go back to piggyback off what Chris said, like to be Black and also to be gay, that's like, and that especially in that time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother can of worms, you know what I'm saying? Because like you said, double discrimination. You dig?
Yep, I am a protected class from two groups of the federal government.
Yeah.
You cannot fire me.
Kudos to him for staying strong, because those times were definitely tough for our kind.
Yeah, most definitely.
So, yeah, but going to the next category, I think, what was the next category?
We have abolitionists, civil rights leaders, and I always forget the last category, but yeah, that's what we have.
Okay. Chris got his.
Yeah, I got mine right here. Kind of. Hold on. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. Mine is John Lewis. Member of House of Representatives, member of the Democratic Party. He was one of the few proud people still alive today who marched with Dr. King.
Yeah.
He was also part of that crew who marched 2 by 2 to the Edmund Pettus Bridge and was beaten. And I believe, I don't know if he was arrested, but I do know, quite a few. Just a lot of those guys were arrested.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
I just remember reading his statement from that time, and it was just like it was just a back and forth between him and the interviewer, where he was just describing the events leading up and then up until his beating, and it was like basically they had marched 2 by 2. They had met together at a small church to the prayer, marched 2 by 2 up to that point. They started in Selma, and before they could even cross the bridge, which was still in Selma, they were met by the mayor of, I think, the neighboring town. I can't remember off the top of my head. I didn't make that note here either. But they were also met with like the police force. And he said, you have, I think it was 2 minutes to turn around. And, not wanting to really comply to that because they were a peaceful protest. They had the right to do what they were doing, just as being Americans doing as they were legally allowed to do. They asked the mayor for his time. He refused. The beating, they went back and forth a while. the beating commenced. And he wasn't the one who was actually, I don't believe, conversing with the mayor. It was somebody else, but he was part of that crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think John Lewis, very, very important in this Black American politics, and definitely for that time, you know, we needed a voice. And stood next to the biggest voice, which is like Martin Luther King. So and like you said, like one thing that's like a common denominator is sacrifice.
Yeah. He understood that like to like a very powerful degree. I don't even know how to describe it in any other way except powerful, just because I just read up. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, because I always tell, like, I'm always going to tell this to the next generation, always respect the people before you, because the sacrifices they made, we wouldn't be here.
Yes.
Well,
we wouldn't have what we have today. So, big ups to him. Did he pass? Or
he did pass in this past August, I think.
Yeah.
Was it last year?
Okay. Yeah. And his quote that came like after he told everybody that he had the stage 4 pancreatic cancer kind of just showed you what type of person he was, and I'll read it off here to you. Mm-hmm. His quote is saying, "I have been in some kind of fight for freedom, equality, basic human rights from nearly my entire life." And he's basically just was saying like, and this was a quote just like that was taken from an excerpt saying that he was still going to be fighting like alongside people, even for the Black Lives Matters movement, despite being sick and everything, which he did to the best of his ability, despite being, elderly as well as being a stage 4 cancer patient. And to the bitter end, he literally was with us, which is just another testament to like how dedicated he was to his duties and how strongly he felt about his civil service to America.
Yeah. John Lewis has always been an interesting individual. Even from his it's just really cool seeing him in action and reading about his story. And you're like, wow, he did all this when he was my age, all this other stuff from the sit-ins, the crazy marches, getting beat, sitting in these rallies, these things that people were losing their lives. It was really cool. And it's just always something interesting to see from people that who grew up during that time, is they always have like a certain presence on stage. And even when they speak, it's like a shout almost, and it's really cool. You could see it in some of Obama's speeches because he models his narratives after that. But it's just really cool seeing John Lewis, and it was such a shame when he passed. He was one of the strongest policymakers on the Hill at the time. He was right next to Pelosi. They were good friends. And I forget who it was. A couple other Republicans who respected that his service showed up to his funeral, Cleveland the Bushes, and it was just really powerful moment to see. We lost an American icon that day.
Yeah. And I mean, like, when you go through something like that so bad that like you decently good chance you may die. You may die trying to do this, and you and being part of the movement that they were a part of, they weren't fighting back. So you're basically fighting. You're basically being slaughtered with zero resistance, or you're being arrested with zero resistance. You're being beaten, zero resistance. And just to have that mindset, you have to be incredibly dedicated to your task, and just so strong-willed. And the fact that he made it to like today's age, basically, it's just and still stayed active as he was just truly like, I don't even know how to put that in words, because I honestly don't know if I had that type of fortitude to like keep doing something for have 40 almost 50 years. Basically it was 60 65 or 67.
What were we talking about, the civil rights movement?
Civil rights movement was 68, I think. But I think like when he was active, when he became truly active.
Like 65, 64.
Didn't he get arrested for boycotting the Vietnam War or something?
Probably.
I mean, I think he got arrested a lot.
Right.
But
yeah, him, I think Ali too.
Yeah, there was quite a few people that protested, including Malcolm. Martin did it briefly. The darn Dalai Lama at the time did. So
don't blame him, but but yeah, that's a great pick. Segue to mine, who was also a strong activist. One would say too strong for his time. Malcolm X.
Brother Malcolm.
Yeah, Brother Malcolm. For me, what draws me to Malcolm was his growth as a man. Because when he was Malcolm Little, he was, like every other kid at a young age, doing stupid stuff, selling drugs, and then he wound up in jail. Then while he was in jail, I think that's where he met another Muslim brother who had him question everything that was going on, whether it be religion, whether it be what's going on with Black people. So I think, when he was in jail, that, which is kind of sad to say because you shouldn't rehab in jail, but that got him to where
wherever he can.
Huh?
I mean, he still made the transition.
Yeah, transition to Malcolm X. So when he became Malcolm X and he left jail, he was very much a Black nationalist. And at that time, that was a very risque thing because it was very divided country. But my thing with him is he didn't care. He cared about what was better for his people. And his thing was by any means necessary.
Yeah.
You hurt mine, I'm gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
An eye for an eye. And that's a mentality that I feel as Black people we should have more.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's
my
go ahead.
Yeah, that's my opinion. I think we should have that at times so we don't get taken advantage of. Because I'm for what Dr. King was for, but there are times where you need to put your foot down. So that's what.
No, I don't think they were truly like two separate entities. To be honest with you, I feel like it was this like the same goal basically the whole time. At least in my eyes, it's the same goal, but just going about it different ways.
Yeah, same goal. But I'll quote a couple of some of the similar quotes. Some of his quotes are very like to this day. Like here's one: "You're not to be so blind with patriotism that you can't face reality. Wrong is wrong, no matter who does it or says it. Nobody can give you freedom. Nobody can give you equality or justice or anything. If you're a man, you take it. So he's all about, what I'm saying? Fight for what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's how I live my life. You know what I'm saying? That's how I live my life. And my favorite quote from him is, "A man who stands for nothing will fall for anything." So I think with that quote, like how I take it is, if you're a man and you don't know what you represent, anybody can sway you, and you can.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen that in our culture a lot, where people don't know how to identify themselves with who they are, and then Candace Owens.
I was about to say that's how you get like stuff that happened on was that the 6th, January 6th?
Yeah.
Where it's just like people want to be part of something so bad that they start to define themselves by things that they see on the internet, dub that as truth, and then take conspiracy theory to be, doctrine, and then just run with that.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you have a terroristic attack.
Yeah, and not knowing oneself is dangerous because they can control you.
Yeah.
So that's what that's definitely a quote I live by. But his legacy, I think what led to what happened to, when he got killed, what led to that was obviously him questioning everything, and he wasn't scared to question anybody. And I think that's what led to his downfall. like questioning Elijah Muhammad, the U.S. government. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that, like, if you question with that energy as a black man at that time.
Yeah.
I think it had more to do with what he was preaching. He was very Machiavellian as far as his approach to government and black views. As part of the reason that he revoked Islam at the end of the day. But honestly, I do like Malcolm. I love what he speaks about, and I still remember photos of him in newspapers where he's wearing a suit and tie. He has a darn SKS in his hand, and he's looking out the window.
Yeah,
a very powerful image to say he was such an educated man.
Yeah.
But I believe his views were a little radical, which is why I don't follow him. But it's interesting.
Yeah, one would say that I think not to push back on what you're saying, it's just that's why what happened to him because it was for that time it was just too strong.
Yeah,
way too strong.
I also think never mind. Oh, that's veering off.
Yeah, so I think
just to I guess add, but also not completely agree, but not disagree neither to what Avery was saying. It's just like I feel like he was that way in a sense because like he felt like it was so drastically one way in America that he had no choice but to go completely the other way. Otherwise, no progress would ever be made.
Yeah, like
he was like, like how they say you don't sail against waves, you go with the wave type thing.
Yeah,
he was the person that would say, I'm gonna take this speedboat and I'm gonna crash straight into these waves and I'm gonna see if you can stop me, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think I don't think, and this is my opinion, I don't think he was super radical if we're talking today.
I mean, he was also like radicalized in like the public image as well.
Yeah.
They had to make him seem much more radical than probably what he truly was.
Yeah. I don't think for if it's today, like some of the stuff he says today is like,
oh no, that'll be thrown out the window. Like it's no big deal, but hey, he's still black, so they're gonna look at it like,
it's like it's something that but in that time, way different. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't really, that's why I say he was ahead of his time. And I think he's influenced so many like black politicians, and I mean his legacy is seen today. I don't think he's celebrated as much because of the way he was radical in their eyes, but I always celebrate him.
Yeah, but oh, Chris, isn't it your turn?
No, it's your turn.
No, it's your turn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I totally agree. I like Brother Malcolm personally, but yeah, I'm just gonna move on from that because it's such a keg bomb.
I mean, I always say this
stuff you could talk about with him.
I always say this. He was the one guy that very controversial.
Yes, very
controversial.
Even like some of the stuff he says could be seen on the verge of terrorism, but hey, whatever.
And that's where guys like me will be like,
it's like, let's put the brakes on.
Yeah, let's put the brakes.
So anyway, I went for my favorite pick. One of the people that I liked always growing up was Frederick Douglass. Particularly, I just love his story. It's the American rags to riches kind of tale. He started off as a slave, born in 1817 in Maryland. He I forgot what it was, but he was very peculiar. He liked to move around and touch things all the time, and I forget the woman's name, but the slave master at the time, his wife taught him to read and write. So eventually he starts learning, he starts questioning things, and he eventually grows up after being too educated, and he decides to run away. He runs away to Massachusetts, where he changes his name and becomes Douglas, after the Arthurian tale, Lady of the Lake or something. But so he starts writing books and writing a paper and counting on his tail because he's smarter than what he's supposed to be, and it eventually comes out that he was a slave and he's a fugitive and he's emancipated. So this is 1870. You can't be like doing stuff. I'm sorry, yeah, around the 1870s, right? So he kept doing stuff like that. So it came out, they put an arrest warrant out for him. He runs to England and he starts recounting his tale there and becomes a lecturer. He's in Ireland, he's in England, he's in Scotland, and then he comes back to the States eventually after he's made some money, cleared his name. He starts a newspaper, the North Star, and does a bunch of other stuff. But before this drags on, one of the key things with Frederick Douglass is he's involved in just about every major American event during those 30-year decade, so he sat on so many boards, so many groups, so many activist groups, and he's wrote so many countless stories and stuff, but I'm not going to name them all because there's just so many. But yeah, the thing I like the most about him is he started off as a slave, from America, and he ends up as a darn diplomat to Haiti and Santo Domingo, and it really says something to me that he still comes back to, this is his home at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, he literally has basically the ultimate come up story.
Mm-hmm.
He literally started at the bottom and came up top.
Yes. He was the consulate to 2 different countries. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. So
yeah, Frederick Douglass is yeah, man, like that ultimate come up story. And for him to be a diplomat of Haiti.
Yeah, Haiti and it was that. It's the one next door. Yeah, no, wait. Never mind me. I'm still trying to think.
Yeah, Haiti has a history in itself with how they've dealt with America and the Western world, and it's not pretty. So for him to take that, very powerful move.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's wrote numerous essays, just supporting just Blacks in America, and he wrote something. He wrote a story about how his son could find work as a darn law firm instead of working in a mining unit because of the color of his skin. And I'm just like, that's kind of crazy to me, But yeah, it's just one of those things at the time.
Yeah, no, and I do like that you highlighted him in part of this, because a lot of people, at least that I've I've read a lot of books on Frederick Douglass, so I've seen a lot of controversy around him, especially when they're talking about his activism for Black people. It always starts with, well, his wife was a white woman.
Yeah. That's one thing we got to clear up. He married a white woman later in life.
Yeah, I know, but let me get my thing off here.
My bad.
No, you good. But it's just but everything he literally did was for the betterment of the Black man in America, basically. And no matter who he was with or what he was doing, it was literally for the betterment of his fellow. Well, I can't say fellow slaves because he freed himself, basically.
Man,
but fellow man, fellow Black men, fellow Black Americans.
Yeah, my bad for cutting you off, Chris, but
no, you good.
I was just so disgusted with that idea that just because he married a white woman later in life that you got to discredit everything.
I think his influences started a little bit earlier than that because his slave master at the time, being Caucasian, talking being white, right? That's he was his key, his education wise. But I mean, so I won't go into semantics of why he thought, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, but my thing is he did it at a late age after his Black wife died.
Yeah, but he was also very heavy into women's rights, and particularly during the convention. During the convention in New York, he met not Ida B. Wells. He did meet Ida B. Wells, but he met Stanton something. But she was a really big woman for women's suffrage and women's rights and stuff.
Yeah. I do appreciate hearing the Frederick Douglass being spoken into a positive light, because if the worst thing you could say about him is he married a white woman, that's not even a bad thing to say at all. And granted, it was basically illegal back then, but I mean overall it's basically we could just say he was a revolutionary in everything that he did.
Yeah, in every bit.
Yeah,
literally everything he did.
And not to harp on that, Chris, but people need to find context. You know what I'm saying? They need to speak things in context because, like I said, he did this late in his life. What is wrong with
he was an old man by this time.
Yeah, what's wrong?
Hey, whatever. Moving on to the last section, we decided to give you guys a little treat about people that you may or may not have heard of. Who would like to go first? I am cinching Chris.
Sure. I already got my thing put up here anyway.
Look at him.
Okay, so for my probably lesser known Black person for this week anyway, it would be Moms Mabley, one of the first, if not the first, Black stand-up comedian, Black female stand-up comedian and actress as well. She was also an actress. I don't believe she was the first Black actress, but it was just, part of the title. Her real name is Loretta Mary Aiken, and she actually started her career at the age of 14, and that was actually like 1908. So, just extremely early. Yeah, extremely early back in the day. So basically had no real like room to move around at all. Yeah.
I just want y'all to think about that, but whatever.
And doing this at 14 in 1908, just insane to me. But she basically actually became one of the most decorated people of her time because for black people, because she actually wasn't able to become a mainstream sensation until 1962, I think. Let me see here. It just says 1960s because there's no conclusive date on there. But she was able to go on shows like the Flip Wilson Show, Ed Sullivan Show, the Merv Show, a lot of other shows that I'm sure your grandparents watched. And but before all that, she was declared as the funniest woman in the world. That was on the Black Vaudeville circuit, aka the Chitlin circuit. And she basically is, if you ever watched any old school comedian, and I do mean like Rev Fox, Richard Pryor, the likes of any of them, she is the prototype for them, essentially. If just almost everything is the same. Well, we're not for Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor has his own anomaly, but you can definitely see the parallels for his influence for her influence on him. And she just was basically a phenomenon in her own right. In fact, even back then, I don't have a date for this, but she was at one point in her career making $10,000 a week from the Apollo.
Oh, what year?
I want you to think about that because I believe this was before she was actually mainstream. Because she was already well into her 60s by the time she became mainstream. So she's probably 40. So this is probably 1930s, 1940s that she's making $10,000 a week.
Do you have the conversion for today?
I don't. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find any thing that looked clean to me. Huh?
Oh yeah.
I don't have an exact year, but they just said it was mid-career, so I'm assuming it was 1930s, 1940s.
That is possibly 40 grand a week.
Yeah. So even by today's standards, that is a lot of money. I'm not making 10 grand a week. I can tell you that right now. I'm not.
That's crazy. That reminded me of a meme where the guy was like, "Would you rather have 300 million would you rather have 300,000 loyal friends or $300,000?" And the guy did some crazy conversion where he was like, "If I had 300,000 friends, I can make a business out of it." And then he'd be like, "I can make $4 million a week." And then he's like, "Who's Jeff Bezos?" So I was thinking, crazy, bro. Anyway, sorry, off track. Go ahead.
You're good. No, but it's just she was just extremely influential. And I wish I could just wax on more poetically, but it's just she just has a myriad of just things that she's done and she's like influence. Like she's even influenced like a Whoopi Goldberg. If we're going by just pure black female comedians, you could say a Wanda Sykes. Just the list kind of just goes on. And I even like watched some of her stand up myself because she's new to me as well, and so I just kind of watched it, and you can feel the Red Fox. If you ever seen Red Fox, you can feel the Red Fox immediately.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool to hear.
You don't really hear much about female comedians.
No.
So that's a dope one.
Let alone ones that were doing it at like 14 and like early century, where we still didn't have very many rights per se.
And it's like there's always something that's interesting. It's just like these people who are groundbreaking and stuff. They're like almost wrote the book on it, you know, when you actually think about it, and they're a blueprint for like everybody else who follows them. So that's just really cool to hear. It's, you know, inspirational in a way.
Yeah, you know, and just like literally, like, because I wish I had like better sources for you guys, like on this, but like it's just like everywhere I went, basically said the same thing, and it was just like basically just said she was a sensation. And so I'm guessing since like I looked at like 10 or 12 different places and all said sensation or phenomenon, since like early on, I'm gonna take that because like fair enough.
Totally get it. That's crazy.
Oh yeah. And I guess Peter, you next.
Yeah.
Kwame Nkrumah. Not too known by, I don't think people know his legacy on Africa. He was the first president of Ghana and prime minister. He led Ghana to independence in 1957. And this is at the time where Britain really just had every country colonized.
Yeah.
And, you know, and he stood up and, I mean, like everybody else, you know, sacrifice.
Yeah.
Well, you know, he went through it just to get to that point for Ghana. And it was important because once he did that, that's when Nigeria got independence in 1960. Sierra Leone got independence, I think, in 1961. Togo, 1960. What else? Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, 1960. They got independence. So he led that. He led that pack of West Africa in that time. And what I liked about him is his way of thinking was he wanted to unite Africa. He wanted to unify Africa. And he had very his ideals was very, what I would say, it's not capitalism.
Aggressive.
I mean, kind of a communist way of doing things.
You could just say socialist. We don't
socialist, socialist. Socialist way of viewing things. And at that time, like I said again, that was very anti-Western world.
Mm-hmm.
And by 1966, that's where they had a coup d'etat. But he wasn't actually in the country when it happened. He was in I think he was in China when over.
Socialist.
So he had found out and he exiled to Romania. No, actually, no. It was Guinea. He exiled to Guinea and then he eventually went to Romania where he had passed away. His time, like I said, very impactful for Western Africa because at the time, England had that whole thing colonized. So for him to stick up his hand and say, "Hey, we want our independence," it was strong. You know, it was a strong movement. So that's why I picked Kwame Nkrumah. And I don't think too many people are familiar.
No.
I'm a little familiar. Because at first, when you said I think when we talked about it, maybe earlier this week or last week, it wasn't on the pod, but I didn't remember the name. But as soon as you said, or as soon as you started listing off the accomplishments there, I was like, okay, I do remember this guy a little bit because I read a book, I think talking about most influential Black figures in history and I believe he was part of that.
Yeah, a lot of people came to the country at the time. Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King. They all respected him. So yeah, definitely.
And rightfully so. Kind of inspiring liberation throughout at least the western side of the continent of Africa.
Yep. They needed it because, like I said, England had it on wraps like this.
Do you know what kind of programs or what kind of infrastructure he installed in the country? Because I doubt he just
I know he started the Volta Dam.
Okay.
The Volta Dam, I think he started. He wanted to do more, but yet again, he wanted to do more for the country, but certain things got in his way. And I know that there was one thing he did. He was very anti-tribalism. So
that's interesting.
When the country got independence, and I might get a little ding from my Ghanaians for this, but Ashantis.
Oh wow!
I'm an Ashanti, so I can say Ashantis were given preferred treatment, and there was a thing where I have to look this up again, but he set up a program that was for anti-discriminate tribalism because it was rampant.
Yeah.
Because the Ashantis, they're the biggest tribal group in Ghana. So it still goes on today. Tribalism, that's a thing with every.
It's in every country. Let's be real.
Every country,
we saw the capital not even a month.
Yeah. It's because for me, I'm half Ghana, I'm half Ashanti, so I see it both ways. You know what I'm saying? I can't really take a. I see it both ways. So yeah, because the Gans are from the capital, Accra. And the Ashantis are from Kumasi. It's the second biggest city in the whole country. So, yeah. So, yeah. But Kwame Nkrumah was definitely influential for this generation and the next. So, read more on Kwame Nkrumah. So he's a lesser known Black revolutionary. Y'all should do your Googles, kids.
Yeah. Know your history.
Know your history.
Honestly, this was really cool. We could be here all day just talking about civil freedoms, revolutionary figures, musicians, entertainers, and everybody in between. So I really challenged myself on this one to find somebody that I did not know about, or just even read about. So I chose what's my girl's name? Oh, wow. I had it up here just briefly. Please bear with me. We are having technical difficulties. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, no, you're fine. You got so many tabs open, so many screens. Okay. So I chose Bella de Costa Green. She is one of the most prominent librarians in all of American history. She was born Belle Marion Greener, but dropped her middle name and changed it to de Costa, claiming Portuguese heritage to escape segregation and explain her lighter complexion. So, she was born into a relatively affluent family. Her parents split. But you just because you got a little bit of money doesn't mean you're above segregation and Jim Crow, apparently. So she found her way in Princeton. She went to Princeton Library. Oh, I'm sorry. She worked for the Princeton Library. At the same time, she found work as a librarian. But guess who was there? It was one of the Morgans, I always mess up his name, but it's the nephew of J.P. Morgan. So he was charged with building up the library on 38th Street, and he was looking for someone to help grow his collection. So it's a really long story. I can tell you guys more about it later. But Green eventually started working as a stenographer and a librarian. So she was entrusted with millions of dollars to collect books, manuscripts, art items, and other rare materials. She traveled down the world in Paris, France, Milan, Italy, Munich, and Germany. Finally, she was outbidding, millionaires and British museums for Egyptian manuscripts and stuff. So that stuff's pretty cool. Apparently a girl's got game too. She never married, but admitted affairs to what was it, Morgan, a Norwegian count, a British duke, and a decade-long affair with a famous art critic, Bernard Frenson, who who took her home to, where his wife lived in Italy, and they had long excursions collecting other Islamic manuscripts and miniatures. So yeah, long story short, he burned a lot of her documentation, so she couldn't get in trouble, just for being in America and being Black. But she spent 43 years at the library, and yeah, there you go. That's really cool.
Avery,
what?
This was an interesting one, bro.
Yeah, I had no clue.
Yeah, this is a whole
that's why I thought I had to share it. It was a ride,
And they don't have a movie about her yet?
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
Nope. Like this, she like some of the money that she made was in the millions for a Black woman in 1928.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that we never heard this story before, and it's really quite a tale. It really is.
What was I gonna say? Her name in itself. I want to know what she looks like. One.
Oh, she's light skinned.
And two, that name, the way you said it, I was like, God, that sounds attractive. That's I was like, yeah, but yeah, that's a very interesting story. Especially with the whole manuscripts thing. That's a very
yeah,
sacred thing.
You don't really hear about that in the States as far as going over and stealing people's culture. But yeah, it's just really crazy that she was able to have full control of that. Those conversations and those artifacts.
Yeah. And again, just like, just not only a minority, but a woman back in that day too, doing that. I mean, granted, they didn't know because she said she was Portuguese, but I mean, just the fact that she got away with that too, because they didn't check.
No,
they just like yeah, works for me, whatever floats your boat. Says she Portuguese.
Like it. We run around pulling what is that stupid Danny Lay song?
Oh yeah, Yellowbone.
Bro, I listened to that joint. I was mad I even wasted 30 seconds picking it up. I'm like,
what did I tell you, man?
Mm-hmm.
What is this
trash?
Like
trash.
Sorry, we don't mean to pick on the light-skinned woman on Black History Month, but that song was terrible.
I was surprised she even released that joint. I mean, she never could sing, but like, come on, dude. Like,
Yellowbone is what they want. Sorry.
Well done, but
yeah. That is our Black History episode for the day. Next week we will try and get a guest on. We'll let that be a surprise if it happens. But next week it'll be modern day entertainers, entrepreneurs, and I think philanthropy. Right, Dave?
Yes, philanthropy. Yes.
Philanthropy. Philanthropy. But that's the show for today. We'll be on YouTube at 3:15 on Monday. Please like, comment, subscribe. Like I said last week, shows us some support.
Please.
We need it.
Please.
You can
appreciate the person that did comment last week too, by the way. You know who you are.
Yeah.
I remember who you are, but I'm not gonna say your name on here because you
you know who you are. You definitely know who you are. You can catch us on all podcast services, except SoundCloud and Pandora for now. My social media page, Out of the Berg on IG, Out of the Berg Pod on Twitter. My personal page is at Kofi Peter _ Chris.
Big Chris 57 on Twitter and Chris Kelly 57 on IG.
And you can find me Avery at Avery Koopa, capital Koopa on IG.
Yeah, like I say always to end, stay blackity black, and stay woke.
Bye.
Bye.